Hello, everybody. Come on in. If Facebook has not suppressed you or YouTube has not hidden me, you should be able to join me for another live broadcast of KLIM.news, Christy Lee Independent Media, coming at you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm so excited about today because many of you know I still have a strong following there in Toledo, my hometown of Toledo, Ohio. Actually grew up in Maumee, just outside of Toledo, Ohio. But I had a long and rewarding career in journalism there in Toledo before heading off to California as a lead news anchor there. You guys probably know the rest by now. Things got so bad in what journalism had become that I was like, I can't do it like this anymore. I can't spread and this propaganda, the pushing of an agenda, one narrative allowed only. So I've been trying to do this thing independently for about a year now. And to tell you it has been easy would be a lie. So it has not been necessarily an easy adjustment. It's been difficult adjustment. Still having to work other jobs to survive as an independent journalist. But what I can tell you is it is so much more rewarding knowing that I'm at least trying to achieve a balance in the media. Some naysayers and haters will be like, well, what do you think you're doing now? You're giving one side. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You are hearing the other side. It is being pushed down your throats daily. What I'm doing is holding a tenet of journalism, which is to be a voice for the voiceless. I'm trying to bring balance by bringing you the other side that social media and mainstream media suppresses. So we have a situation like that, and it's coming right out of my hometown of Toledo. We have some strong candidates in opposition to career politicians. One of those candidates is JR Majewski. He is from Toledo, born in Toledo, went to Woodward High School, a Air Force veteran. But what he's not is a career politician. And, you know, those in the mainstream media, they don't take too kindly to those that they haven't been able to buy off, you know, that they haven't been able to push. I have interviewed Marcy Kaptur multiple times in the course of my career in journalism, working at all 4 news stations there in Toledo. And I think she's a nice lady. She's a very nice lady. She's good. She's a good politician. What I mean by that is, you know, when I would ask her questions about, hey, you know, there's this like water treatment testing agenda, and you know it's costing $300 million. Like, you know, since you've been in your position as a woman for decades now, do you feel like when you see those numbers and you're advocating for this like water testing or whatever it was at the time, I just know it had to do with a huge price tag, like $300 million for some kind of a testing. And I was like, do you think that being in DC for decades keeps you out of touch with, you know, just how much money that truly is? And she didn't really take very kindly to that question. But like I said, she's very good. She was like, I just think this is very important, you know. And I mean, to this day, I wish I knew exactly what it was about, because then I'd follow up and probably find that you know, whatever that 300 million went to, did we even get anything out of it? I'm not sure. So hi, Bill Clark. Hi, Sherry Roberts. Seeing all of you coming on in. So that is the background. I had to catch you up because it's been a while since I've done a live. So yeah, I've just been super busy trying to work multiple jobs, getting my butt off the chair to try and survive. Like all of you, we're all trying to survive right now. But I'm trying to work constantly to survive, as opposed to take any handouts, you know. Which is what they would want us to do. You have to resist. So I did reach out to Marcy Kaptur's office today. There has been multiple articles put out about JR Majewski and saying that he misled people about his military service. He is coming with documents and corroborations that no, he was not lying about his military service. Wanted to see if she wanted to give a follow-up on her position after she criticized him for basically accusing him of lying. I have not heard back from Marcy Kaptur's office as of yet. But don't want to waste any more of your time. Want to bring in JR Majewski. Here we go. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Christy, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. So, your military service has come under scrutiny. You were an Air Force veteran. It's on, and they're even questioning whether you were the position you said you were in the nuclear industry, trying, of course, to tie you to QAnon, which isn't even a real thing. Those that actually follow Q say there's a Q and an anon, and then this QAnon is just like a made up word, whatever. So all kinds of smears here. So actually want to bring up some of these articles so we can look at them together and give people the background, and then we can kind of get your side. But
Sure.
give me a moment, because like I said, I used to be a news anchor. I didn't have to do all of these other things, and now I'm thrown into it. So let me see. House candidate. Here's the one I wanted. I think it was this one. Let's see. Okay, so this is from Politico, and it says House GOP cuts loose candidate who misled about military service. So first of all, the first thing I noticed is, well, some of the articles that are alleging that you misrepresented yourself are actually careful to use the word alleged. Politico goes all in and says House GOP who misled about military service. They just go all in. They don't even say it's alleged, just right there in the headline, like it's an open and shut case. So that was alarming just off the get-go. And then let me see if I can find this. And trust me, we're going to get to it. I just want people to see from a journalist's perspective, my first impressions at this smear job by Politico and, of course, the AP. Let me see if this is it. That's not what I just showed. That's not it. Oh, I think that's, nope, that's the Hill. Here we go. All right, let me see if I can fix that. I got to bring my arrow over here. Okay, here we go. So Ohio GOP House candidate has misrepresented military service. So they also have this in the AP article that you misrepresented your military service. And it's based on what they say is a FOIA request trying to corroborate that you had served in Afghanistan. I believe they have alleged in here further in the article, but they can't be bothered with that in the headline. So, of course, you had places like MSNBC, The Hill, and all the typical players just parrot what the Associated Press and Politico were saying, that oh my gosh, he lied about his military service. So first of all, I got to ask you, did you or did you not go to Afghanistan?
I did multiple times. I served in the military East, Middle East. I don't know why I said military East, but Middle East from what is it? November, excuse me, May of 02 to November of 02. And we were there in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. And I worked in a aerial port squadron at Travis Air Force Base in California, and I was part of the 64th Air Expeditionary Group in the Middle East. And we flew multiple times from Qatar into multiple bases throughout the Middle East, primarily to move our troops, vehicles, weapons, gear, everything you can think of into the forward operating bases.
Okay, and then let me try and show some of the pictures that you sent me. Now they're even running articles that, military vets are expressing their disappointment that you misled about your military service. So they're just running with this narrative, and it's just like they didn't even give you an opportunity to truly respond. So obviously here is you at the beginning of your Air Force career. There's that picture. And then let's see what else you sent me. Share screen. They don't make this like super friendly, easy to do. Can you tell me what this picture is right here?
Yeah, so that is myself. I'm in the middle left there, wearing the sunglasses. That's myself and a bunch of Air Force and Army troops, and we were training that day, and we were training on receiving alarms and having to go into, I guess the best way to say it is a response level. and that included going into this bunker that would protect us from artillery and bombs.
Okay, and what year was that?
That was in 2002.
Okay, and then let me share this other picture. Let's see. How about this one? What can you tell me about this picture?
That is me on the far right, and two of my buddies that I was deployed with, and I'm not sure where that was or when that was, but I know it was in the Middle East,
I'm
and I
sure
know it
you
was,
lose track at some point.
I mean, it was 21 years ago, 20 years ago, and for the most part, we didn't have the luxury of digital cameras. So these are from Kodak wind-up cameras, and it's a picture of a picture.
Yeah.
So I
So
really,
I do want
really,
to get into that about like as far as when you read through these articles, they say that you can't really go into detail about exactly where you were and what the status was because that is classified and you're not really supposed to share it. Like, can you explain what you mean when with that defense of not being able to provide all the documents?
yeah. So they want to litigate my military service. They want to know every aircraft that I was on and where it landed in the Middle East, and they want to have a detailed account so they can try to hold me accountable for something. And the truth of the matter is that you don't talk about individual flights. That's just not how you're supposed to relay and talk about your military career. At the end of the day, the Air Force acknowledges that I was in Qatar, and they also acknowledge that people moved into forward operating bases from there, and they have absolutely no visibility on that. I mean, my job was to move people into these forward operating bases, and through sorties or whatever that may be, and it's just intuitive that with my job, that's what I would be doing. But the AP has targeted me, and they had this information since July, and they chose to wait until the week that military ballots came out. And the other thing that my team and I are curious about is the fact that they have all of these military files that are not, according to my research and discussions with the VA, these are not traditionally files that could be released via a FOIA request. These are all protected by the Privacy Act of 1974. So that leads me to believe, because if you see other reporters, they've gone to the Air Force since and they've made requests, and the Air Force has basically stated JR Majewski was in Qatar. Where he went from there, where he forward moved from there, we have no visibility on. And that's a standard response. Okay. And the other part about it is that they've acknowledged both the AP by virtue of my DD Form 214, that my DD Form 214 doesn't even say I was in Qatar. I mean, this is a classic display of bad administrative policies during a time of war by the Air Force. And as a young man, I left the military, and I did not. I didn't have it. I didn't have the foresight to update my military records. I never thought that that would be something I would need to do. And they've challenged everything. I mean, they're digging so bad right now. It's ridiculous. They're trying to put me and my team into a position where we're constantly defending. And
On the defense. I mean, it's a strong claim that you make about that there could have been some workaround way that the Associated Press got documents trying to claim that you were misrepresenting yourself because they weren't supposed to traditionally be able to get these kinds of documents anyways through FOIA requests. Are you insinuating that there possibly could have been some coordination between those and records and maybe some exceptions made to try and bolster this smear campaign? I mean, I'm sure that would not come to a surprise to many of my listeners and viewers because, I mean, we've seen so much corruption with now even the FBI, the DOJ, coming after people just for the sake of being pro-life, coming after parents, and there's more proof of that coming out. More FBI whistleblowers are coming out. So, I mean, do you have any suspicion that this was coordinated, especially since they waited 2 weeks, or I mean, not even 2 weeks, but like 2 months to
here's what I will say in the spirit of being a America First ultra MAGA candidate like myself. I'll say this. Marcy Kaptur has been in office for 40 years. She claims to care about veterans. She sits on subcommittees. She sits on committees. She votes on legislation that will benefit and help veterans. She also votes on a lot of things that hurt veterans. But at the end of the day, her experience that she stands on the pedestal and claims that she knew about this right away. And as her constituent and her being my congresswoman, if she truly gave a damn about a veteran, she would have stopped this in its tracks because she knows that the information that they have is not provided through a Freedom of Information Act request. She knows that. But instead of doing that, she perpetuated this issue. If you go on Google Ads and you Google my name, you will see the AP report and you will see sponsored by Marcy Kaptur for Congress.
Wow.
Marcy Kaptur pushed this issue because she's scared that she's going to be defeated in November. And she is
you've pointed out that this is not the first time she's used these tactics, and I want to get into that later because you are not the first victim of these kind of surprises where accusations and character assassinations are thrown out just before an election, and I'm going to get into that. But before we do, I want to just show your about page because that was also like under scrutiny, saying like, if he really went to Afghanistan, why isn't it in his bio? So why isn't it in your bio?
I mean, it's just not because, I mean, I explained that by saying I served in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. They're challenging me based on semantics. And, if I were to sit down with you and we were to discuss my military service, if you said, JR, where were you at? And I said, well, I was in Qatar. What does that draw from your intuitive understanding of the military? You will say, what is Qatar? And then I'll say, well, it is a country that is close to Afghanistan. We had Central Command there, so on and so forth. And so in conversation, it's very easy to say, hey, I was in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan to me parallels and is somewhat, I mean, people generally speaking, non-military folks, they associate Afghanistan with Operation Enduring Freedom. So I've said that on podcasts. I've never claimed to be Rambo. I've never claimed to, kill a bunch of people on my bare hands. I've never said I was in a big firefight. I've never made any of those claims. What I've said is that I've served. I was in Afghanistan. I served proudly, and I love this country. And they're trying to mobilize a bunch of people based on semantics, and they're doing that through everything that you said in the beginning, where the headline of the article is misleading. And these are the same AP reporters that went on a character assassination of Donald Trump and tried to ruin him with anonymous sources. We have been nothing but honest with these folks. They've given us short timelines. They've taken advantage of the fact that I'm a first-time candidate, and I firmly believe that they have some level of collusion, be it through local office at the federal level or through friends and whomever in the federal government.
I imagine you'd make plenty of friends in the federal government if you've been working for it for 40 years, yeah. Like Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur. Insane amount of time spent there. So you have adamantly denied any misrepresentation of what you said. You said you've said you loaded aircraft, deployed troops on sorties to bases in the Middle East like Afghanistan, etc. It didn't really seem like Politico or Associated Press were interested in your defenses. I'm not sure why. I know that there's this talk about, oh, that was another thing. Let me see if I can find it because I found this like so laughable. I gotta find this. But while I look for this other thing I wanted to talk about, what can you tell me about this, also them trying to dig into your work history and say that you misrepresented your work history?
I don't know. I mean, there's been so much focus on the military side. I mean, they've said many of things. There have been people on Twitter that have given them anonymous reports. I mean, at the end of the day, all you have to do is go to the vice president of Davis Bessie, who was my boss, and he'll tell you what I did for that plant. There are plenty of people in the industry that will tell you what I did. As a young man, I worked very, very hard. I was promoted pretty fast, and I stand by my claims. Look, I was attempted to be recruited by a company that's going to be leading the world on recycling spent nuclear fuel, and they used one of the most well-renowned headhunters in the nuclear power industry to recruit me. And this gentleman and I have become good friends, and just happens to be that he's a staunch conservative and a very, very strong supporter of Republicans. And so, when these claims came out, he came to my defense immediately. Um, I can't speak for my employer. I resigned because I had to focus on winning this election. Um, I have nothing but good things to say about my former employer. I had a really good time working for him. Had a really good time working at First Energy, and there's no they're chasing ghosts when they talk about my my professional career.
I'll have to add this in post editing because I can't find it right now. But there was another article I was reading. Perhaps it was from MSNBC. I'll have to go back and look. But I about laughed, again, because I frequently make fun of now the fact that news so often uses this term experts, like it's for everything. Experts say, experts say this, experts say that. And it's never very specific. It's just kind of this thing that they can throw out to validate the agenda of whatever they're trying to say. And they did the same thing with you. I was like, of course, we're coming back out with the experts. Apparently some Air Force expert that was saying that you had to have been misrepresenting yourself because you didn't have the ribbons that would have been expected for someone that could characterize themselves as a combat veteran. What is your response to that?
Well, number one, I left the military before, and I was honorably discharged from the military before that medal was created, and I just never took the time to fill out the DD Form 249. It's very, very clear by the VA if you go to the VA's website and you ask or you search for what a combat veteran is, and I qualify for that. I received imminent danger pay. I requested my pay stubs from the Department of Defense immediately when this article came out last week.
And that's the documents that you have sent to me to verify is the proof of. Is that what you sent me? The proof of your imminent danger pay?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, I have that right here.
And so
I'll add that post editing too. Go ahead.
That should be that should be ample. But what they've done is they've continued this narrative, right? They want to find me or push me into a position where I'm embellishing, and that's not what I've done.
It's well, this smear campaign, this would not be unlike something that Marcy Kaptur's office hasn't done before. So there's this other article that just dropped from National File. Let me bring that in here. And this says Marcy Kaptur, GOP rhinos, pushed fake news in 2020 to destroy a Tea Party candidate. Now they're doing it again. And it talks about how they did this with a Tea Party candidate that was, he was doing World War II reenactments, looking for his name.
Rich Ayat.
What is his name again?
Rich Ayat.
Rich Ayat, thank you.
They used to own the Food Town franchises.
Oh, yeah. Okay, see, this is coming back to me now. So, yeah, they did this whole thing knowing full well that this was a World War II reenactment situation.
And the National File and a couple other groups that were on a private Zoom that I held the other night, a press conference, they were given the opportunity to ask a veteran who served with me a bunch of questions, and I believe they covered that in the article as well.
They do. So it goes on to say that they spoke firsthand with an Afghan war veteran who confirms that he was in the war zone with JR Majewski during Majewski's 2002 deployment to the Middle East as the early phases of U.S. ground operations in Afghanistan got underway. Now, it points out in this article that you have been so attacked. These people come after all of you so viciously that this particular veteran did not want to, he gave this corroboration on the condition of anonymity, but it does say that they were able to confirm that you were issued imminent danger pay in 2002, reflecting time in Afghan combat zone, and also that this other veteran was legit, like he was able to show his papers, but he just didn't want his name out there because he sees you being attacked so viciously
Right.
that it makes sense. Okay.
A lot of my friends have said that, in today's day where we have people in jail, for and they're being withheld the opportunity to, an expedient trial, and going through the court system, especially the political prisoners in DC. So these folks are intimidated, and at the end of the day, the AP has produced, again, documents that are my private documents, and legally they should not be able to do that. And so that intimidates veterans. I mean, the last thing that we want is to have this light shined on us. I mean, I just want to beat this old woman, and in an election, and I want to represent the people of the Ninth District. And I don't want to get into these tirades. I've never gone on the attack with respect to Marcy. I've played the race. I played this campaign, in my opinion, very honorably. Marcy's launched nearly $750,000 worth of attack ads against me, and I think Toledoans are seeing that. It's an act of desperation. She's
She's
slandered me.
never had to come up against anyone and have be truly threatened, because the way that it was districted before, it was always stacked in her favor. And now we have a situation where she can be a little bit more equitably challenged, and it scares the crud out of her.
Talk
But
about her policies. She should talk about what she can do.
and let's do that. I mean, since Marcy Captor's office has not responded to my request at this time, which is still open. You're welcome. We've talked multiple times in the career that I was in Toledo before. Happy to talk to you again, get your side, hear what your plans are, hear how different they might be than any of the other 39, 40 years you were there. But so I mean, you and I can talk about that, but now that we have this corroboration, you've sent me the documents, you have others that served with you that maybe don't want their name out there but can show that they are truly military veterans that served with you. Now that you have multiple methods to corroborate your military experience, what do you plan to do moving forward? As far as, do you have any line of action where you can sue for defamation, or where you can hold them accountable for rushing through and putting out this story without truly doing the due diligence to get the other side?
I'm not sure what I can and can't do legally. I haven't, really considered. I've, I really need to look into that, because I know as a politician or as a candidate, you have certain, there's certain liabilities that you inherit just by running for office with respect to slander and defamation. And so,
Right.
you know,
Makes it a
what
little
I'm
bit more difficult, right?
what I'm going to focus on is moving forward. I mean, the people of the Ninth District, they don't care about JR Majewski. They care about what JR Majewski is going to do for them. They don't care about Marcy Captor. They care about what Marcy Captor has not done for them. And this election is a referendum on these poor democratic policies that are ruining our country. And as a gentleman who gave up his professional career to run for office to try to make a change, these attacks don't bother me. I'm not shaken. They think they're shaking me, but they're not. I mean, they're going to run more ads. They've dug into my military records even more. And I released the statement today. When I was 21 years old, I got a DUI in Japan, but my DUI, my blood alcohol level was between 0.05 and 0.08, which wouldn't even qualify for a DUI in the United States. And so it didn't cross over to my American driver's record. It did stay in my military file, and I was reprimanded for it. And I've always been honest about that. People who have met me on the campaign trail will hear me say, I don't drink alcohol because I made a mistake when I was young. And that one mistake has set a tone for my adult life. And so, unlike Marcy, I can learn, I can adapt, I can move forward, and I can win. Marcy has trouble doing that. You talked about the algae problem. I mean, that's something that's big on my radar. There's many things that I think we have opportunities to grasp here in the Ninth District, but we will not do it so long as we have the people in office that have continued year over year to drag us through the mud.
Right. So if you are just joining or you joined late, we're talking to JR Majewski, and the Associated Press, Politico, MSNBC, all the typical players have been running headlines saying that he misrepresented his military career service. National File just dropped an article where they actually did a little bit more due diligence than they were willing to do and got some other documentation to show that what he is saying about his military service, characterizing himself as a combat veteran and having visited Afghanistan, can be corroborated. AP refuses to correct their article, but there's not much that someone can do once you're in the public eye and you're coming up against a beast like that. So the best thing that you can do is JR Majewski has not really been able to give his side of the story. True journalists should care about balance and making sure that both sides are told. If you Google JR Majewski, you are only going to get one side. You're going to get the Associated Press, you're going to get the MSNBC, you're going to get the political headlines that don't even use the word alleged. They just flat out use a headline saying that he misled. And they know they can get away with it because now JR Majewski is a public figure. So what I'm here doing is I'm trying to bring you the other side. And so the best thing that you can do is share this like crazy, share, like, comment. Facebook obviously suppresses those of us that try and bring the other side and try and bring truth. So continue to please share my page, continue to share this interview. And I want to dive back in. So a couple other things I got to ask you about is there was a swift reaction from those that are on the side of Kevin McCarthy, and you had the reaction of funding pulled, a huge amount of funding pulled for ads. Can you tell me about that swift reaction to just the accusations from the AP?
Well, when I speak to leadership within the NRCC, they have what's called and what's known in political space as a firewall. Okay, so the group that does their independent expenditures that support campaigns like mine are managed and led, and they strategize independent from leadership in the NRCC. So when I've spoken to Chairman Emmer and I've spoken to Leader McCarthy, both of them said that they felt as if this was a little bit premature and they weren't aware that it was going to happen. Does that mean that the NRCC is going to come back in my race? I have no clue. I don't think they know. I don't think legally they can know. But what I can tell you is I'm still engaged with the NRCC. I still participate in their strategy calls, and they're still willing to help me in strategic decision and also with some of my media. So I wouldn't say that the NRCC has given up on me per se. Their independent expenditures group did pull out, and that doesn't mean they can't come back. And maybe they reacted a little bit premature. I'll let them decide that. But at the end of the day, I won this election, this primary election, without any support from any of these larger organizations. In fact, I believe that they may have supported one of my opponents, and I still won. So, if you're doing this for the right reasons, you're willing to put in the hard work, and you have a desire to win and tell the truth, I think that you'll be successful. So I'd love to have the NRCC in my corner, but at the end of the day, the voters come from the 9th District of Ohio, not Washington, D.C.
Just running through, of course, you can never trust the articles that Google puts out, but they're trying to say that this is going to still be a difficult, even though it might have been made a little bit more feasible, kind of David Goliath story, because of the redistricting and such, that this is still going to be very difficult for you to pull off. How are you feeling, especially after the smear campaign that you just had to endure? And I guess, do you believe polling? I mean, they've been so right before, right? So do you even believe that?
I learned a lesson from talking with Governor DeSantis a couple weeks ago, and he told me that he doesn't even poll in his own race, and he doesn't poll because that's a static measure that is, that has intended results. The questions are such that the pollster already knows what the answer is going to be, or has a high understanding of what the poll might lead to. And I agree with that in a lot of ways. But traditionally speaking, there are a couple polling outlets that I personally believe in. I'm just not sure if, I believe the polls that are out right now. I
I
can
like
tell
this
you,
comment from Janet Mormon. She says the media had the story and timed it perfectly. Pay attention. I think that that's a great observation to make because, like you said at the beginning of this, Associated Press apparently had this documentation that they felt like was going to back them up and accusing you of misrepresenting your military service, but they had it since July. Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. And they had plenty of time to come to you and get the story straight. You said that if you had known that they had trouble finding proof of your service as you claimed it, that you would have had more time to get it. What is the problem there, though? You said that there is a problem with sometimes being able to follow up and get the documentation you need, or request the ribbons, or I'm not sure what all the right terminology is. Is there a problem with that? Is that a difficult process?
yeah. I mean, any veteran that goes to have their records updated or seeks service always finds red tape and bureaucracy in the way. And an example, in order for my military records to be updated, I have to fill out a form DD 249. And that DD 249, I have to list what discrepancies that I found, and then I have to provide proof of me being correct. And then that goes through a board. But here's the thing: in order to even get that form, not to get the form, but in order to start the process, you have to do a bunch of paperwork, and you have to call, right? You have to call and talk to various people. And there's times where, being naive, at a younger age, when I wanted to join the VFW, I applied, I put in the paperwork, I called, I ended up filling it out wrong. There was a bunch of things that had happened, but essentially you call a number, you're dialing in, press 6 for this, press 5 for that. It's just this cycle of minutia that, in my opinion, hinders veterans from going forward and actually clarifying their service records, or even seeking assistance from the VA. And I think if you were to stand 10 veterans in a room and ask them all what their experience is like, working with the federal government on many levels, particularly as a veteran, they'll all I mean, I would say a high margin of them would tell you that nothing is easy.
Right. So I wanted to point out this comment. Amy Super Futures. I got to get my arrow back over there. She says, "I'm sorry, but it sounds like Kevin McCarthy was behind this attack." Others are also making the accusation that the as some would call rhinos, um, they don't like this mix up in GOP control, and this gives them an excuse to not support you. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say take your grievances where they can be heard. Go to Twitter, go to Facebook, post, tag him, ask him, put the pressure on him. I can't make those accusations as a candidate. I can't draw those conclusions. There's many reasons why. Mostly because I'm so invested in winning this race that before I would make an accusation like that, I'd want to do my due diligence, unlike the
Mhm.
AP.
Yeah.
And um, you know, I'd like to believe that Kevin McCarthy wants to see me in the House of Representatives. He came to the district and he helped me raise over $100,000 in a day. So I can't say that he had convictions against me, but what I can say is that as a voter, as a Republican, you have the right to make that challenge, and you should, because when the people stand up, when the people stand together, and when they communicate with force, and they let our elected officials know, it has an effect. So I would encourage you to take to social media, talk to him, talk to Tucker Carlson, talk to all other conservatives that you can reach, and let them know, because there is a machine that we're fighting against. I mean, you know, I cannot be bought by either party, and that's a fact. Maybe that is or isn't the reason why this is all happening. But I know that the one constant that I hear about, that I know about, be it with the issues that I'm having or the demise of the Ninth District of Ohio, one constant has been around for 40 years, and that's Marcy Kaptur. And I'm focused on defeating her. So,
Yeah, let's talk about that because and I will try and wrap this up, but I want to use this remaining time to do what she does not want done. Everything points to that she wants focus off of herself and what she has or has not done. She has distanced herself from even the President Biden, and this is after multiple cases of um, acting like she supported him, which is interesting. I mean, how are we expected to trust somebody like that? That there was so many cases where she said he'd done a great job in his first year as president. Then suddenly she runs these ads that say she doesn't serve President Biden, but she in fact serves the people of our area right here.
She's voted with Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. You know what needs to be said to Marcy Kaptur is that Marcy has an obligation to stand against anybody in our federal government, so long as that stance represents the will of the people that she represents. And you do that on the floor of Congress. You don't do that via overpriced social media and television ads. We don't want to hear what Marcy says. We want to see what Marcy does. And it's blatantly obvious that Marcy Kaptur is amongst a Democratic Party with members like Tim Ryan who are pretending as if they are conservative because they know that conservatism is the winning message. Marcy's history or legacy speaks for itself. She has nothing.
Yeah, it points out, like, even in this article, she's running this ad saying she doesn't work for Biden, but you can actually see a clip of her saying, it would be my honor to not just for Joe Biden, but to work for him and Senator Kamala Harris. She shared that in 2020, but suddenly she doesn't work for Joe Biden. So
well, she actually, here's how desperate she is. Okay. Marcy Kaptur actually ran an ad with a Republican who won't vote for JR Majewski because JR Majewski is too extreme. Well, folks, if standing up for your life, your liberties, and your pursuit of happiness is extreme, I mean, I just can't rationalize crazy, and that's what that argument is. But Marcy Kaptur hired this crisis actor. His name is Richard Goodman, and he published his name. But if you go and pull his voting record, Richard Goodman is a Democrat, and he's been a Democrat for a number of years.
He's posing as a Republican, but if you actually search the way he's voted, it's always been
because he voted one time in the Republican primary this year. Why did he do that? Richard voted for the Republican that he did not want Marcy Kaptur to face. And, they voted for the Republican that they wanted Marcy Kaptur to face. This is a Democratic tactic. They manipulate.
Who is it who did he vote for? Who was the one?
I don't think you can find that out.
Wanted her to find out. Oh.
Yeah, but for a history of 10 years, something like that, I think I found for all 10 years voted straight party line Democrat. And this year, in Marcy's year of vulnerability, he and a bunch of other Democrats decided to vote Republican. I can promise you that they did not cast their vote for me because I'm the last one that Marcy Kaptur wanted to face.
Right.
That's why they're digging into my personal life. The other two that I ran against, they had a lot of faults in their time in office. And look, they were both good conservatives. I'm not trying to be condescending to them, but I know that I'm not the person Marcy wanted to face.
Yeah.
And that's just that's proven by the fact that I was.
Well, apparently she's just all of a sudden decided she does not work for Biden, but you can see and corroborate that in Congress she's voted with Nancy Pelosi and President Joe Biden 100% of the time. Oh, interesting. So you're not with Biden, but you vote with him 100% of the time in the past. And again, it was funny when I was reading up on just reviewing Marcy Kaptur. I was like, dang, she's been in Congress. She was elected the year I was born, and I'm not no spring chicken. I just turned 40 here this year. And yeah, she was elected the year I was born, 1982. Insane. Average gallon of gas was $1.31. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Back when she was elected. She's 75 years old, the longest serving Congresswoman in Congress. For any of the haters up in the comments, instead of trying to continue to do the work of the AP and the Politico, who already has that covered. Perhaps maybe start putting in the comments. I haven't seen one person in the comments yet. Maybe I missed it, but I've not seen one person in the comments tell me what Marcy Kaptur has done for us in 40 years.
Look, these folks that are coming into your chat, and I just sent you a pretty cool picture too. Kind of move on what you said about Marcy.
I wish I could share that. But I'm not technical. I'll put that in and also after when I.
So Marcy Kaptur has been in office since I was 4 years old, and got a nice photo comparison side by side that I just sent you. But look,
I'll do this in post edit. But here's a little sneak peek. I'll do a bigger picture there for you later. But that is so funny. So that was her when she was elected, and little baby JR Majewski.
Yeah. But you're gonna get this. You're gonna get this. I mean, these folks are professional trollers. They've been inundating my social media, and they should be ashamed of themselves because they're trying to manipulate what is a free and fair election process by participating in the propaganda machine. But again, they can come on my page all they want and scream and shout and cry. I'm still going to be here tomorrow. I'm still going to be fighting, and I'm still going to retire Marcy Kaptur.
I think what people really need to focus on is what people really care about. People they're over the character assassinations. They're over the just the smear campaign stuff. They're over the division. We've never been more divided than now. And so we want and care about talking about policy. We want and care about talking about when am I ever going to be able to fill up my car again without practically crying? When am I going to be able to get more than a couple bags of groceries? I mean, it is absolutely insane. I would say, even having me lived in California a year and a half ago, I would say I could get like a decent amount of groceries for 1 week for maybe $60 to $80, just like your staples, of course. Now that would be easily $300. Like, it is absolutely insane. It is definitely not reflective of the supposed, we just went up like a 0.1% inflation rate. Like, no, that's not what my receipts are showing me. Right. So on that note, I mean, for those that want to champion Marcy Kaptur, that's fine. But please show me what she's done in 40 years. And when it comes to being fiscal, things have only gotten worse. She's continued to vote always for more increases in spending, never cutbacks, it seems. U.S. debt was $1.14 trillion in 1982. U.S. debt topped $30 trillion while Kaptur has been in Congress. I mean, I guess I also have trouble understanding the motivation of people that want to supposedly be in public service for that long. Like, you don't think it would be better for the country to have maybe some like fresh ideas?
Right.
I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, coming from Marcy Kaptur, who once advocated for term limits and once advocated for campaign finance reform. She's holding on for her life for the seat. And when you talk about what she's done, I mean, there are things that Marcy has done, but they're negative to the United States of America. I mean, she's given a congressional medal to or a congressional letter of honor to a Holocaust denier. She's told women that their provocative dress is what encourages males to sexually assault them. She has called Osama bin Laden and the Taliban. She's compared them to people who have ran successful revolutions and won freedom for their countries. I mean, I don't want to get into quoting that because of the heat that I'm under, but unfortunately, every word that I say is going to be taken, under a microscope. But realistically, Marcy has talked a lot and done very little. And the lake is a prime example. She's campaigned on these algae bloom, fixing the algae bloom for, how many years, and it's still something that she just talks about. How many years are we going to analyze When are we actually going to get something done? It's taxpayer money that is funding this, and it's a slush fund.
I just got to believe again, like common sense. If you, I mean, and I remember in the interview, she did kind of actually, in a side way. I wish I still had access to that interview. It was so long ago when I was in traditional media, but like she basically was trying to say in so many words that when you have been in DC that long, you do look at money different. And she's like, oh, this is what it takes to like make change. But like, is that good? Like, is it good to just look at like million, trillion, billion and not really appreciate the way the common people, the way the people that have not been career politicians would look at that money? I mean, clearly she does look at it in a different way because between 2017 and 2018, she voted at least 4 times against bills proposing even modest spending cuts. So it's all just about spend, spend, spend.
Well, these folks aren't problem solvers, right? They're panhandlers. There is a way to set an accomplishment or a goal and have measurable steps to get there. This isn't their money. This is our money. And when it's not their money, they don't feel as if they're held accountable. The fact that we've spent billions of dollars trying to clean up Lake Erie and we haven't done that yet is just a complete and utter shame. I mean, I've moved some of the most dangerous material in the world and spent nuclear fuel. And every time my team and I moved that spent nuclear fuel, we got better. And every time we said we were going to do something, we did it. Now, spent nuclear fuel is pretty darn dangerous, but I think Marcy Kaptur and her legislation is much more dangerous to this country. And when you apply a skill set of problem solving to an effort like cleaning up the lake, put a plan out, right? Get something measurable, something that the people can hold you accountable for. Don't just go and say it's important to the economy. Don't just go and say it's important to our health. Don't just go and say Lake Erie is a natural resource and we have to keep it clean. Those things are inferred. Let's figure out how to fix the problem. Let's hold ourselves accountable and let's be transparent and honest. If we don't have the solution, if we need to do more analysis, let's do it. But let's make sure it makes sense. Marcy Kaptur doesn't know what makes sense. And a lot of these contracts that come out, to me, they're inflated. If you go on the Great Lakes, if you go look at these groups that are receiving grant money and you look at their milestones, if you look at what is considered an achievement, to me, it's arbitrary. I mean, they're slapping themselves on the back so damn bad they need a straitjacket. They're not accomplishing anything. They're just stealing our money every year and they're promising us results and we're not getting them. So that's just one example. I mean, the other
I want to
is
hit one more topic with you before we leave with final thoughts or whatever, because I'm sorry, I didn't even ask you like how long you could stay. Are we still good? I should ask it all. Okay, cool.
I cleared my schedule for you. So.
Okay, awesome. I do want to hit this topic because it's been in the news quite a bit. So we had the whole, I mean, I've been on the border a couple times now since I've lived in Texas. Very difficult to see. My husband came with me one time. It's very difficult. Like I was very teary-eyed at some points, just it wasn't just all about like, oh, all these people are coming in and like, this is terrible. No, it's an unsettling feeling when you see just bus after bus coming in and you see little kids and babies and diapers. And then as they pass by, like, is that baby's with just some random guy? Is that baby really that guy's baby? Like there's so many unanswered questions. A guy shows up with not even shoes on, tattoos all over the place, says he's there to pick up a family and bring them somewhere. It's just like, it's so unsettling. So for anybody that tries to say like, oh, you people that want immigration reform, you don't have a heart. Oh, spare me. Go down to the border, go down and see for yourself. It is sad. It is not a good situation. You don't know how many people are being carted over, that you don't know what's going to end up happening. I mean, look into it yourself. Take a little bit of time and start researching what happens to these people. Mm-hmm. How many kids do end up going missing? This is not a good situation, folks. They're not coming here to, have a better life always. They're come here, they're being trafficked. We're bringing drugs into the other side. So spare me, anybody that says that we don't have a heart. Yes, we do. I want to know on this immigration issue, because we had 50, not even 50, 48 sent to an area, Martha's Vineyard, where they've advertised certain parts of that as being sanctuary. But man, they got them gone in like 44 hours. Yeah. So Marcy Kaptur, I'm not totally sure what all of her stances are on immigration. I do know that she has publicly condemned the border wall on multiple occasions. I'm not really sure. Did she make a remark about, did she think it was horrible that 48 immigrants were sent to a sanctuary area?
Oh,
Uh,
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, Marcy's gonna do and say whatever Nancy Pelosi tells her to say. And I said this, I think it was last week or the week before when I was at the Trump rally. Democrats love to dump illegal aliens in our communities, but I didn't see one of them sharing a glass of Chardonnay with all of the immigrants at Martha's Vineyard,
mhm,
right? And
mhm.
it's a shame because the Democratic Party is financially rewarding people to illegally come into the country. And I share the same sentiment. I've been to the border a few times, and we are a country of immigrants. We were built on immigrants, and I want immigrants to come here. I mean, absolutely. I've worked some of the most intelligent people that I've worked with in the nuclear power industry were immigrants, but they were legal immigrants. And there's a process. There's a reason why we have law and order. If law and order would be followed, we would know if those kids are with their parents. We would know if those kids are with their legal guardians. If they had to seek asylum, they would do so legally and they would get the proper protections afforded to them by our federal government. But instead, we're not following the rule of law. We're not setting order. And these folks are seeking a new life in the greatest country in the world. And they're coming here under a cloud of resentment because people feel as if they are invading their communities. We are paying more money to support them because we've been running rampant and they're taking our tax money to do this. No red-blooded American looks at an immigrant, an illegal immigrant or any immigrant, mother and child, and doesn't feel bad for them. We all do. The point of the matter is we have systems in place to get them here and take care of them. And
And make sure that when they come here that they're safe. If they go through the actual process, then we're not losing children. We're not we're trying to decentivize people's efforts to make money off of bringing them here, the human trafficking element of it. And we also need to make sure that we can get a control of this fentanyl situation. I know that that's a major issue in Arizona,
it is
particularly.
in Ohio. I
And
mean,
yeah, I mean, as far as, like, where it's coming in, I know Arizona is, like, a big,
yeah,
border area where that's coming in, and then, yes, I mean, come on, how many stories have I done in Toledo about our drug problem? Well, where is it coming from, folks? Maybe we should tighten up those borders to at least, impact how much is available,
yeah,
maybe?
and we should empower law enforcement, right? We should let our sheriffs work across county without bureaucratic red tape. Toledo is very unique in many ways, but here's one of the most important. Toledo is home to the only north and south and east west interstate that spans the entire country. I-75 runs from Michigan all the way into Florida. I-80/90 goes from San Francisco, California, all the way into New York. And while our businesses have not been able to capitalize on that intersection, that artery, those that have nefarious intentions, like trafficking drugs, trafficking children, are taking advantage of it. Toledo is, I believe, years ago, not very long ago, was number 4 in the world for trafficking. And you have a lakefront that is being utilized as well. That I mean, look, Toronto is a boat ride away, and when these kids are thrown in a boat and they are ran across Lake Erie, they get into Toronto, they disappear. It's like New York City. It's a very large metropolitan area, and so these are issues that have been known not only to the leaders in the city of Toledo, but the representative that we have in Marcy Kaptur. And she has watched this with keen eye and allowed it to happen. And I have not once found an example where Marcy Kaptur stood on the floor of Congress and said that we need to protect our kids from trafficking and fentanyl. But I've heard many other leaders say that. And that in itself is the reason why people like me are running for office, because the Democrats just don't care. They want you to focus on a few things and none of them have to do with progress. They all have to do with relitigating things. They have to do with their hatred for Donald Trump, and they have to do with polarizing the American people such that we create a social paradigm of dependency upon them. So long as we're dependent, so long as we are not together, we harbor them. We give them a safe space, and I think the American people are waking up slowly but surely, and I think that we're going to see a change. I mean, we're seeing it across the globe. I mean, look at the Italian prime minister
Mhm.
that was just elected. I mean, she's breathing fire of conservative value. She's telling them, she's telling the people, and the mainstream media in Europe is going absolutely ballistic. This is happening. They're a petri dish for what happens in the United States, and so I'm highly confident that there's going to be a change, but I'm not highly confident that it's going to be easy if we aren't standing up. We have to stand up together, and this democratic message is nothing short of destructive.
Now, I know that you're not even allowed to have any concerns about elections anymore. But the fact of the matter is for my many years working in news in the Toledo area, there were plenty of election problems to report on. Um, Definitely remember that. So with a history of having some problems at the Lucas County election offices and issues there where some even had to come in. Uh, what is your confidence level with that that it will be run fairly? I mean, obviously you don't have to come out and say they're going to cheat. I mean, but like we can
I
at
mean,
least say, do you
they're
have
cheating right
concerns?
now. They're cheating right now. I mean, at the end of the day, a politician teaming up with the Associated Press to lie about me, that's cheating. So, I mean, as far as the election goes, I think that Secretary LaRose and the state of Ohio are going to focus on areas like this where, they have Democrats that are known to behave in the manner that Marcy Kaptur behaves. And, we're going to have to arm up a group of solid Republicans that are willing to go watch the polls and hold these folks accountable. There are ways in which we can develop, quick response lines. We can, get accusations of nefarious behavior out to the media and out to the right members in our state government, and we're going to strategize to do that. If we lose this election, I will be extremely surprised. I think that Ohio has some pretty good electoral laws, and I think that I know that every time that I voted as an adult, I've always had to show my identification. So, I take some solace in that, but it's not beyond the Democratic Party to cheat, because I still firmly believe that there were some cheatings and mishappenings that happened during the 2020 presidential election. I mean, I think a lot of Americans do. So I wouldn't put it past them to try. I just don't know if they can be successful.
As more comes out to corroborate what you've said about your military experience, that the AP didn't bother to wait for, um, do you ever expect an apology for? I mean, you're a veteran, and they're trying to accuse you of misrepresenting your service. That's a strong claim, especially in the name of politics. Do you ever expect an apology from any of the newspapers or from Marcy Kaptur herself?
No, I don't expect it, nor do I want it. I don't want them to apologize. I want them to cry when I win. That's what I want. And I want them to look themselves in the mirror at the end of the day and be able to live with themselves. And I want them to rationalize their misbehavior. I mean, one of these reporters is a military veteran himself, and he makes a living off of attacking other veterans and selling and pushing innuendos to make them look terrible. And he's using the power of his social media platform to do so, because I highly doubt that he has many friends, and it must be a lonely existence. And so I don't want his apology. I really, I forgive them. I really do, but I'm never going to forget it. And I hope the people that have seen this don't forget it either. But at the end of the day, I don't need his apology. I really don't, because
Or Marcy Kaptur's?
they would do this anyway. And Marcy will never apologize either. That's okay. I'll still send her a retirement card.
Oh man. So I feel like we covered a lot. What are some other issues that you really wanted to drive home? What do you really want to do to make a change for the Toledo area and the rest of the area that you would be serving in?
Well, I think number one is representation. I mean, I've been growing up in the north end of Toledo, I've been uh, anchored in the ninth district since I was a kid. And one of the things that I can say is that I've only seen Marcy Captor maybe twice. And this is before campaigning. And the most people I talk to, they say the same thing. You only see Marcy at certain times of the year. You only see her when she has an opportunity to take a photo. Um, it's ingrained in me to be different. It's ingrained in me to be servant, like a servant leader. I mean, that's what my leadership style is. And so I want to be available. I want to be around. I want to be, I love going out in the district. And like last night, we had a barbecue in Defiance, and we shot, about 1,500 clays, and I had a 12-year-old kid beating the crap out of me, shooting these clays, and a little 5-year-old girl with the pedal, and she kept trying to trick me with to throw the clay out there so I could shoot it. But I mean, those types of interactions with the general public and the constituents here, I think number one, they deserve it out of their representative. But number two, I absolutely love it. I love interacting with people. I love helping people. That's what I built my professional career on. And so
Okay. I gotta show this real quick. I gotta share my screen because Sophia's been trashing me and you this whole time, Sophia Jackson. But that's fine, Sophia. That on my page, you have freedom of speech. We actually will champion and defend your right to insult us in whatever fun way you want, because we actually believe in free speech. Um, the only time I've ever blocked anybody if it's just constant trolling and insults that add nothing to the conversation. Most of the time I let people insult me all they want. But here we go. She is trying to look cool right now. She said, "How do you know they had the info since July?" Sorry, Sophia. I tried to do your voice. I'm not really sure that's what you sound like. That's how I imagine you sound based on all the fun comments I've been reading. So let me show you, share my screen. Um, we bring the receipts. Here is AP's own, and let me try and make that bigger. Here is their own evidence. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. It's this Thursday, July 28th. This is when they reached out supposedly for this information, active duty service confirmation, yes, etc. So there you go. We didn't just make that up. It is from the AP article that you believe so much that you didn't actually bother to read. That's so crazy. You trust the Associated Press, with all your heart, but you didn't even bother to read the article and click on the links embedded right in the article that would have answered your question. But there you go. Happy to answer that for you, and you can continue to insult me all you want. Love ya. Okay, JR. Any other thing that we want to clarify or put out there?
no, I think that the people of the ninth district are going to vote, and I think that the Republican message is the right message right now. And with that said, I think there are challenges, between both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And I look at them as one unit, one group. I call them the establishment. And regular Americans like myself, people that care about their communities, people that value our country, value the you know, I remember as a kid, Toledo being one of those communities where mom would send me across the street to ask the neighbor for ketchup. I mean, I think every American
I
wants
remember
that.
that too.
Yeah. And I think every American wants that back. And I've met a lot of grandparents on the campaign trail that are scared that when their kids graduate high school, or excuse me, their grandkids graduate high school or graduate college, they're going to move away and they're going to miss out on some of their best years in life. And I was fortunate enough to have grandparents throughout my childhood. I know what that brought to my family, and I know how much I value the loss of my grandparents today. And I'm not saying that my values need to be pushed on everybody, but what I'm saying is more times than not, people remind me of what Toledo used to be. People remind me of what they miss about Toledo. people remind me that there are other cities in this country that have retained and conserved what their community values were. And they did that through electing the right people that would truly, truly represent them. And that's what I plan on doing for the folks in the 9th District of Ohio. And I would challenge Marcy Kaptur to a debate, although I know that she'll never agree. With that said, I'd love to challenge Kyle Buda, her spokesperson, to a debate. Kyle?
Well, you touched upon something I've noticed as a trend is they're just flat out denying debates on the other side, which is crazy to me. So you have Carrie Lake running in Arizona. Katie Hobbs refuses to debate her. You have John Fetterman, who apparently said he would now debate Dr. Oz, but it remains to be seen when that will happen, if that will happen. This is a trend. They're just outright refusing to debate now.
Yeah, because these Democratic incumbents are leveraging their offices, they're leveraging their incumbency, particularly a candidate like Marcy Kaptur, who has never been in a fight, and she's sitting on all of those campaign dollars, and she's weaponizing that to try to keep me at bay. And they want to win through big government spending, big candidate spending. They don't want to win the right way. They don't want to win through articulating a message, developing a platform, resonating with the people, developing individual messages.
Hey, I appreciate that your candor, and I appreciate that you are straightforward. You already kind of touched upon this, but I have a specific question from James Laporte.
Oh, that's the guy that wrote the hit piece on it.
Oh, he says last week your campaign said your NJP was due to a brawl and an Air Force dorm. The records that the AP obtained by the say now did you indicate that you were for the DUI, which you talked about. Did you receive 2 or is it just 1? I guess is the question.
I would tell James to use the proper channel of communication as a reporter and talk to my team. I would also ask James, how the hell is he getting my military records? What is he doing to get my military records? What he, I believe, is claiming is FOIA is protected and given to him under a Freedom of Information Act is not. He's violating my privacy. And, I'd have a conversation with James. That's not a problem. But at the end of the day, they're giving me short timelines. I'm trying to win an election. I don't have time to.
Right.
Stop.
As we pointed out before, apparently y'all were sitting on this since July. And it was very purposeful to not give him time to corroborate what he was saying. Here's another veteran who claims he's not trolling, but I know better, but that's fine. The question is, why not expedite a records release?
So I've seen Logan's comments too. He doesn't like me. He's a Democrat. But great question, Logan. I've tried. The FPRC is not going to move just because Mr. Laporta decided to drop a hit piece on me. That's not how the military works, and you know that. At the end of the day, why embellish? Why try to move on documentation that already shows that it's erroneous? If my DD Form 214 doesn't show that I was in Qatar, yet you've been able to confirm that, why base load your entire argument off of a document that you know is wrong? That's what I would say.
Well, I mean, I also want to, in good faith, like I'll allow people like Sophia, who's just name calling, and Logan, we let you speak. We invite you to debate. We welcome discourse. People like myself and JR Majewski. I don't even identify as Republican, but one thing I have noticed in the past couple of years is at least the Republicans, you don't see them censoring people. You see them asking to debate. This is not happening on the Democrat side right now. So yeah, that is, as long as you're keeping it clean, you're welcome to ask your questions and to, taking a phone call right now. You're welcome to ask your questions. You're welcome to, let's debate. Let's talk. I wish your side would have more of that and do that and show me the same respect instead of just censoring me and suppressing me.
Kevin should be calling you or whatever. I don't know what the hell happened next.
I don't know what's happening. This is live.
Thank you. All right, buddy. Bye. That was a good call.
What was that call for?
I can't say. I can't say.
Oh, okay. We don't get the scoop.
It's a good call. I'll tell you privately.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, I think it's about time to wrap this up. This is a super long interview. We didn't get around to coordinating that aspect of it. How long? I usually try and not go any longer than an hour. Well, we've already gone past an hour. So, any final word? Yeah,
I just want to say that, you know, to James and the folks in the chat, to echo what you said. I was an independent before this election. I decided to register as a Republican to run, and you know, I was always an issue voter. I voted on issues, and I've always resonated with the Libertarian Party. You know, I firmly believe that you can do whatever you want to do within your own home, as long as it's not hurting me or anything like that. This is going to be the call. Hold on. This is JR.
This is exciting. Good stuff that we're getting, maybe.
Oh,
you're here first.
Well, supposed to get a big call. So anyway, to Mr. Laporta and all those other folks, you know, the fact that you waited so long to release this story, the fact that you didn't give me ample time, knowing that you're a veteran and understanding the administrative process of the federal government the way that you probably understand it a lot better than I do. And the fact that you have access to records that I know you legally shouldn't have gives me pause. If you want to have a honest and open conversation with me, that's fine. But as of today, your journalistic integrity doesn't resonate with me. So we'll work with you through our team, but I'm not going to answer individual questions from you.
Yeah, and especially don't hijack my news operation Associated Press to get your questions in. My God. Okay. Well, I feel like we need to let you or at least get off here. I want to know the scoop of who's calling him. So I will bring that to you when I can. But thank you all for joining us and weighing in, and get out the vote. Regardless, at least participate in the process. If you're going to defend articles, actually read them, please. Yeah, with that, anything else you want to say, or
no? I thank you for your time, and thank you for reaching out, and thank you to the people that participated. I truly do appreciate it.
All right. See you around, folks.